today's video, we're doing a Q2 review. Let's get right into it. Okay friends, I cannot believe we are already at the end of our second quarter of the year. We are already halfway done with the year, which is wild to me. I wanted to start this video off by explaining what quarterly reviews are, because chances are you clicked on this video because one, you know what quarterly reviews are and you're curious to know about like all of the tips, tricks, and things that I've done for my quarterly review, or two, you have no idea what quarterly reviews are and you're looking to get started in it. And I think any quarter of the year is a great way to get started. You don't have to start right at the start of the year if this is completely new to you. So don't worry, you haven't missed out on much. But what are quarterly reviews? I got this idea from professional quarterly reviews. So in the professional space, in the workspace, there are things called quarterly reviews where every 3 months of the year, you kind of look back at all of the things that you've accomplished and all of the setbacks that have happened in those 3 months of the year, and kind of shape the future 3 months based off of what you discover in your review, in your analysis. And it's very data driven, it's very technical when we're thinking about it in the workspace, but I have adopted that concept into my personal life. And these quarterly reviews that I talk about on the channel are personal quarterly reviews. Once again, I will look through the previous 3 months, the 3 months in the quarter, and reflect on my accomplishments, on my setbacks, on a personal level when it comes to slow living goals, personal goals, developmental goals, whatever goals it may be. And then I set up myself for the next quarter based off of what I find. I hope that makes sense. The first thing that I do before I get into my quarterly review is set the vibe. And I'm actually doing my quarterly review as I film this video, so we're going to actually set the vibe right now. Let's go. So setting the vibe might sound so confusing, but what essentially I'm doing is making myself a really nice cup of coffee and just setting things up in a positive way so that I'm actually looking forward to this quarterly review. When we think about quarterly reviews, or at least in the professional space, I feel like we can feel very intimidated and paralyzed by perhaps not being happy with what we discover. So what I try to do is make sure that I'm actually looking forward to this and kind of erasing as much paralysis and intimidation from the experience so that I actually am looking forward to doing this. And I continue to look forward to do this. I know this looks strange that I'm pulling the ice from here. Don't worry, my hands are clean. But also, this is my fridge, and it does not seem to come out the dispenser in the front of the fridge, so like over here, it just does not come out for some reason, so I have to do it that way. Anyway, making myself my coffee. This looks funky, but I brewed hot coffee this morning because I forgot to do my cold brew system. I brewed it this morning. I left it in the fridge, so it is cold now. So it is now essentially iced coffee. Let me get my creamer. Still on this one. If you were to be continuously intimidated by it and scared and paralyzed by the, idea of not having a perfect review, then you might not do them again. And we don't want that. We want to continue learning, growing, and using the quarterly reviews to help us be our best selves. Anyway, here's the coffee, iced coffee ready to go. We're not done yet. Ideally, I would also do this outside since it's kind of nice weather now that I can do it outside. But today we're going up to 90 something degrees. So I am just gonna turn on my computer and get things pulled up. I tend to put on Paramore, but I might also try doing the 1975 this time. And what essentially I'm going to do now off camera is look through my Notion and just review the last 3 months based off of what is in my Notion, as well as in my journal. And I do have like 2024 goals in here that I'll also look into, since what I should be working on throughout the year are my 2024 goals. So we're gonna look at that. I have prompts that I will share with you as well, but I'll just have prompts to fill in, and then I'll come back and report to you what I have discovered about my Q2. Okay, I am back. Let's start with my journal, and before I get into my actual quarterly review, I just wanted to emphasize how important it is for these following things. One, like I said at the top of the video, set a vibe. Make sure that you're creating a positive experience for this, because if you're not creating a positive experience, you're not going to enjoy this, you're not going to look forward to it in the future, and we should look forward to this because this is actually really beneficial and helpful to our personal growth. The next thing is to acknowledge why wins are important. Wins are important no matter the size of them, and acknowledging them helps us celebrate and reward all of the work that we put into bettering ourselves. And if bettering ourselves sounds strange to you, if you don't want to look at it in terms of improving yourself, because I know that can be painted in a way of like we always constantly have to be improving ourselves, but that's not the case. It can simply be bettering yourselves in the form of just doing the things that you actually want to do. And then the next thing is to acknowledge why setbacks are important. So there's always going to be setbacks. There's no 100% perfect quarter ever. I don't think that exists, and that's just because things happen throughout quarters, and you're not going to get to every single thing, and you're not going to get to every single thing in the most perfect way that you anticipated, and that's okay. That's more than okay. That is to be expected, and we have to kind of normalize that setbacks are good. Setbacks are also lessons learned, just repackaged in a different way, and the more we're able to look at it in that way, the more we'll be able to learn. Okay, that got really philosophical. Let's jump into my actual quarterly review. I do it on like one page in the back of my journal. I have like a tiny section in the back of my journal that just is empty for notes, and so I've just been putting my whole review there. And these are the prompts that I was talking about earlier. So the first prompt is a word for your quarter. So my word for quarter 2 is lost. Now that sounds very ominous and very negative, but I'm going to take it as something positive, or at least neutral positive, because I did learn a lot from this quarter. And I will just say that my quarter 1 was extremely positive, so it was a lot to kind of live up to, and that's okay with me. But that's the first prompt. The second prompt is my wins for quarter 2. So my wins are that I started my garden, and that is part of my 2024 goals, so that's a big thing for me. Getting monetized on YouTube. I have been on YouTube since 2019, y'all, and there has just been so much that has happened since 2019, and I really thought that I was just going to give up on my YouTube altogether, but here we are, got monetized in 2024, and I'm just looking forward to doing so much more on YouTube. I love this space so much. It is actually my favorite space on the internet, and yeah, that was a huge win for me, and little did I know that it was going to happen in Q2. And then the third win that I have listed here is that I worked on a bunch of house projects. I did some things that I wanted to do. I did some things I didn't realize I was going to end up doing, but I did. And so I'm happily surprised that I got a lot of things done. And I will show you more of that once I get into my Notion, because I have a board on house projects. So you'll see that really soon. But yeah, those are my wins. The next prompt that I have are my setbacks. So what I have as setbacks are all of the health things that happened to me over the past few months, and it did pretty much take over the past few months. And I know it's kind of strange to put health underneath a setback, but it definitely just took over my life, and everything else got pushed to the side. And so I'm looking at it as a setback in this sense, because I wasn't able to get to so many other things that I wanted to get to in the past quarter. So just put that in there. And it's also really, it's not a great experience to have negative health situations happening or medical emergencies happening. So it just ended up falling into setbacks. The next thing is that I did not really focus on like my content really well. I feel like I really slacked off when it came to posting on TikTok and Instagram. I have been more or less consistent on YouTube, and that's because I really have been focusing on YouTube. But for Instagram and TikTok, I've been posting here and there, and that's just unheard of for me. I used to post every single day on those platforms. So I feel like I really fell off track there. And to kind of segue into the last setback that I have, I wrote that I lost a lot of momentum. So like I said, in Q1, it was a really great quarter. I ranked it as a 9.5 out of 10. So it was extremely high expectations coming from quarter two over into quarter one going into quarter two. And so I lost a lot of momentum that I had in Q1. Of course, there were so many things that, caused that with my health and what have you, but I don't know, I lost a lot of momentum. And so by the end of the quarter, I felt like I just wanted to stop. And I felt a little bit paralyzed by wanting to stop and not even try to make up for time lost. Should I even bother attempting to do anything for the rest of this quarter? And I know that's not a good way to look at it, and that's why I have it under a setback, but here we are. The next prompt that I have is lessons learned. The lessons that I've learned is that life happens and it's okay to take an extended break. I think a lot of the times in the past, I have talked about it being okay to take breaks, and I always look at it in the form of a short break. I never look at it in terms of months-long type of breaks, but I think I've learned that months-long breaks are okay, especially if life is really, really not getting in the way, but there's just a lot going on. I had back-to-back situations happen in this past quarter, and obviously I didn't anticipate any of those things, and so of course, in my head from the past, I kept thinking, oh, I'll take a mini break here, I'll take a mini break here. But in reality, I probably just needed a really, really long extended break, and I'm now feeling it. I'm now feeling that burnout. And so now, in retrospect, lesson learned. Take extended breaks if you need to. Life happens, and that's okay. I've learned that I should find better ways to find balance and recoup from like these paralyzing moments. So just like what I was saying about feeling paralysis and not even wanting to try or get back into the swing of things because it's already too late and I've lost too much momentum. I really want to find a way to not be in that mindset. If I am struggling, I want to find a way to balance myself, and maybe it is that extended break that I need to do. Okay, my fifth prompt, that's the second to last prompt, is moving forward wants. So what do I want from quarter three? I wrote down that I want to get back into creating content for Instagram and TikTok, more consistent content, more like strategic content. I know that sounds very technical, but what I mean is just like intention behind what I'm posting, as opposed to, oh, I have like a handful of photos in my camera roll, let me just throw it up there because I haven't posted in a while. I want to actually have intention and a lot of thought into what I post on Instagram and TikTok, and I feel like I did that in Q1, but I would like to do that more going forward in Q3. And I would also like to do more solo slow living practices. It has been very busy these past few months, and I have been socializing. I have been, tag teaming along with a lot of, friends and family members in my life, and that's great, but I do need some solo time. I need some me time. I'm a big introvert, and I feel like I recharge best when I'm alone for some periods of time, and I just need to bring that back. I need to do some slow living things that are just for me and not for anyone else, or in preparation of other things. So really, really looking forward to doing that in Q3. And then the last prompt that I have is my rating for Q2. So in Q1, I gave myself a 9.5 out of 10. I really don't feel like I should give myself a large number for Q2. I feel like this felt more of like a 6 or a 5. So I'm gonna do 5.5 out of 10. I know that sounds really, really low, but it just wasn't my highest quarter, and I'm okay with that. Just a lot to work with for Q3, which makes me hopeful. I do anticipate having a good Q3, especially with, fall being part of Q3. That is the journal section of this video. I am going to jump into my Notion now and show you some of the things that I have in association with Q2. So let's get into that. Okay, friends, so as you all are very familiar with, this is my Notion, and I'm not going to get into any calendar type of stuff. We're just going to do some high-level Q2 type of stuff. So before we even jump into the actual technical things, I want to do a little bit of customizing. I like to change the appearance of my banners and stuff based on the season. So what I'm going to do is, sorry, I should have shown that. Right at the top, I hover over the banner, and then I go to this part where it says change cover, click on that, and then I go to unsplash. Unsplash is basically where I find images instead of kind of manually going into Pinterest or Google or whatever and finding images. This is just like an all-in-one place. So what I'm gonna do is type in summer aesthetic. I tend to just tack on aesthetic at the end so that I can find pictures that look really nice. That's a little hack for you there. And I've really been into the water kind of theme, so I might go with something like this. Let's see these options. One more option. I think I'll go with this. I think I'll go with this one. I don't know why, but I'm really craving wanting to go to the beach or the pool. Anyway, so we're gonna go with that, and I'm going to change this little icon here to something more summery. So let's just put a little sun. And there we go. Very, very simple, but I do think it changed the entire vibe of my Notion. So now that we've done that, oh, actually, let's do some more. Let's do some pictures here. I'll just click on, what I did was I hovered over the image. I went into these 3 ellipses, I think that's how you say it. Click on replace, and then the same thing, unsplash. And maybe I'll do something like not a picnic. Let's do hiking aesthetic. Like I said, I tack on aesthetic to the end of everything that I look up. Actually, instead of hiking, let's do beach aesthetic. That might be a little bit more summery. That's pretty cute. And then let's do the same on this side. Sometimes you have to realign the page because it doesn't show. Oh my gosh, I think I have to move myself. That's like one annoying thing, is that everything doesn't fit on the page. As you can see, I have to keep doing that. Okay, beach aesthetic. What else is summery? Maybe pool aesthetic. Sunset. Ooh, I like these. Let's go with this, perhaps. Oh yeah, I love that. I'll just do a little bit of tweaking. Very, very cute. Okay, let's move myself back. There we go. Just a couple of adjustments and suddenly it's very summery in here. Now, let's go into my Q2 master to-do list. As you can see, most of the things I have crossed off in my Q2. So generally successful, at least when it comes to this master to-do list. I did not successfully do casual video content on TikTok, so I am gonna leave that there. I also didn't accomplish 5-3-30, which was the whole exercise routine that I've talked about on the channel before. And then this one says look into podcast ads / promotions, and I wrote down as a note to postpone to July. So everything else here, which I've done, let's just acknowledge the wins here. I confirmed a kitchen paint color. Gonna erase that. I researched one major monetization stream. I assessed my Lemonade, and I've assessed that I'm not going to be posting on there quite often, if at all. Started the garden, started and finished the spring bedroom project. I ended up not wanting to do the capsule wardrobe. I got clothing for the wedding, and the wedding was lovely, by the way. I cleaned up all of my links to products. You can actually find that on my website now, like an all-in-one place if you were curious. I assessed my newsletter content, and I did a survey in June. Thank you to those who participated in that. And there we go. We're left with 3 things that were carried over from Q2, and now I'm going to change this to Q3. I have no idea what I'm going to add onto this master to-do list just yet, because I need to go into my other things here in Notion and see what needs to be done. That takes a lot more time because I go into every single board, into every single subboard, everything, and then I see what needs to be plopped into here. And the reason why it's called a master to-do list is because I plop in anything and everything that I want to get done in the quarter, and then I organize it afterward. Okay, so that's pretty much set to go. Let's go into my house projects because that is something that I do on a quarterly basis as well. Living room decorations, I'm just gonna open that up. I don't think I did much here. So unfortunately, this was not completed by May 31st in the quarter two. So I'm just going to 1, 2, 3, set this to have a goal for the end of quarter three, as well as the cabinets. That's already set in place here. I'm going to be painting our kitchen cabinets. So that's one of our next projects, and I think that's pretty much it. I will say, as a surprise, and it's not here anymore, but we did end up painting the front door. I wanted to paint the front door since we moved into this house because it was a very unfinished, raw wooden door, and we finally painted it black. It looks so good. So just that's an accomplishment that is not listed here, but I just wanted to shout that out. And that's pretty much it for the house projects. The game tracker, I'll be completely honest with you, I haven't played a game in a long time, but I have jumped back onto Dead by Daylight this past 2 weeks because they are having an 8th year anniversary event, and so I've just been playing that. If you were curious, my wish list, I don't really check this on a quarterly basis, so we can forget about that. My plant database, have not been updating this, but now would probably be a good time to. All of these things here, I will say the cilantro did die. Don't know how that happened, and the cucumber died as well. So I'm just going to remove those, and everything else, actually I'll also delete the seeds because the seeds never sprouted, never. I truly don't know what I did wrong this year, but that's fine. Everything else is thriving. I will let you know that. Completely thriving, and I will say the garlic, I'm just going to put this in as notes. It was harvested. We harvested all of our garlic. We got like 24 bulbs of garlic, and it has been incredible. So I'm just going to say that I harvested it in June of 2024. Complete success. I don't even know where I want to keep that because I don't have them anymore. So maybe I should create a section here called archive and then move it over there because that's pretty much complete. I have no more garlic in the actual beds. Everything else is doing quite well there. And yeah, that's that. Now over here, I'm not going to jump into this with you. This is extremely time consuming and it's very technical and boring, but I will just let you know that what I do is I go into each of these tabs and I put in like data, like really boring stats, analytics, numbers from each of these platforms. So I go into Instagram, TikTok, etc., find data over the past quarter, put the data in, and then I just, I create goals for the following quarter based off of what I've discovered in that data, as well as like overall goals that I have for myself. Say, for example, I wanted to post more on Instagram, and specifically I wanted to post more annotated photos on Instagram. I would just write down next to that whether I did well, whether I didn't do well, or I kept pretty neutral with it. Like I did fine, if that makes sense. So I just go into every single thing there. I'm not going to show you once again, but that's the general practice there. And then this is my podcast section. I have not touched this in a while because we have finished our latest season, and our next season is going to be in August. So it's coming up. And so there will be more things happening in here in July, but for now I have not touched this at all. I do need to consult with Ian, who is my co-host for this, and then there'll be some more exciting things there. But that is pretty much the Notion set up. I hope this looks good. I don't know about like the colors actually, now that I look at it. The colors would look better if they were more cohesive, but it's fine. For now, that is the mini Notion tour and Q2 cleanup, and I think we're all set for Q3 once I add some more things. You'll probably see this get a lot thicker soon. All right, friends, so that is going to wrap up my quarterly review. I hope it was interesting. I know there was a lot of information in here from, me setting the vibe to sharing a couple of tips to actually me going into my quarterly review, but I hope you were able to kind of follow along in the sense that I got prepped for the quarterly review. I did the quarterly review, I reviewed everything and kind of wrapped it all up into one big rating, and now I have a good idea on what I want to work on in quarter 3. And what do I want to work on in quarter 3? I really just want to get back into the swing of things, and so I'm going to really ease into quarter 3, and I really mean that, super easing into the next quarter. I want to take a really good break, a really good reset after this, and just start fresh come a new week and get back into the things that I have been missing and wanting to do really desperately, which is posting more consistently on Instagram and TikTok, getting more into hobby type things that heal me, refresh me, reinvigorate me, and make me feel good. More slow living practices that are just for me. When it comes to technical goals, you'll likely see that more in my monthly recap / reviews. I wanted to end this video off by quickly giving you some tips if you feel like the year is speeding by. I know that's a phrase that is commonly used, but I really am feeling it this year, particularly because Q2 for me was really busy, but the year is speeding by. And the whole point of my channel is to emphasize slow living and slow pace, quite literally, at the end of the day. And so if you're trying to do that, if you're feeling a little bit bummed at the fact that the year is speeding by, I would really lean into little practices, and I mean the most basic practices that you really love and can kind of get lost in and not feel like you have a deadline and not feel like you have to kind of wrap things up really quickly because you have to get to another thing. Really dive deep into those things that bring you joy. And when I say most basic things, I mean something as small as, I don't know, using a coloring book, watching a really good movie, reading, whatever hobbies you're really into, just lean into those for a little bit and let go of all of the other responsibilities that you have just for the time that you're doing that thing, and enjoy the moment. Those types of practices are what's going to help you learn to live slowly in the most practical and most interesting and most easily accessible way, because it's easy to do the things that we like to do. So I hope that is helpful, and even though the time feels like it's speeding by, you still have time. Don't worry, you still have time to do all the things that you want to do. You know, next month is another month, next week is another week, tomorrow is another day. You always have the opportunity to start over and slow things down if you want to. I hope it's a successful quarter for you. I would love to know if you're comfortable sharing with me. Definitely do so in the comments. Let me know your rating. Let me know your word for the quarter, whatever it may be. Let me know what you're working on in Q3. I would love to know that as well. But thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you in next week's video.